Yes, I am rather cracked in the vamp, he said freely, seeing that the eyes of the shepherd's wife fell upon his boots, and I am not well fitted either. I have had some rough times lately, and have been forced to pick up what I can get in the way of wearing, but I must find a suit better fit for working days when I reach home. One of hereabouts? She inquired. Not quite that further up the country. I thought so. And so be I, and by your tongue you come from my neighborhood. But you would hardly have heard of me, he said quickly. My time would be long before yours, ma'am, you see. This testimony to the youthfulness of his hostess had the effect of stopping her cross-examination. There is only one thing more wanted to make me happy, continued the newcomer. And that is a little baccy, which I am sorry to say I am out of. I'll fill your pipe, said the shepherd. I must ask you to lend me a pipe likewise. A smoker, and no pipe about, I have dropped it somewhere on the road. The shepherd filled and handed him a new clay pipe, saying, as he did so, hand me your baccy box, I'll fill that too, now I am about it. The man went through the movement of searching his pockets. Lost that too? Said his entertainer, with some surprise. I am afraid so, said the man with some confusion. Give it to me in a screw of paper. Lighting his pipe at the candle with a suction that drew the whole flame into the bowl. He resettled himself in the corner and bent his looks upon the faint steam from his damp legs, as if he wished to say no more. Meanwhile, the general body of guests had been taking little notice of this visitor by reason of an absorbing discussion in which they were engaged with the band about a tune for the next dance. The matter being settled, they were about to stand up when an interruption came in the shape of another knock at the door. At sound of the same, the man in the chimney corner took up the poker and began stirring the brands as if doing it thoroughly were the one aim of his existence, and a second time the shepherd said, walk in. In a moment another man stood upon the straw-woven doormat. He too was a stranger. This individual was one of a type radically different from the first. There was more of the commonplace in his manner, and a certain jovial cosmopolitanism sat upon his features. He was several years older than the first arrival, his hair being slightly frosted, his eyebrows bristly, and his whiskers cut back from his cheeks. His face was rather full and flabby, and yet it was not altogether a face without power. A few grog blossoms marked the neighborhood of his nose. He flung back his long drab greatcoat, revealing that beneath it he wore a suit of cinder grey shade throughout, large heavy seals of some metal or other that would take a polish, dangling from his fob as his only personal ornament. Shaking the water drops from his low-crowned glazed hat, he said, I must ask for a few minutes' shelter, comrades, or I shall be wetted to my skin before I get to Casterbridge. Make yourself at home, master, said the shepherd. Perhaps a trifle less heartily than on the first occasion. Not that Fennel had the least tinge of niggardliness in his composition, but the room was far from large, spare chairs were not numerous, and damp companions were not altogether desirable at close quarters for the women and girls in their bright-colored gowns.